A boy asks his father a question. His father ignores it, so he asks again. He's ignored again, so he asks a third time. And his father gets angry. He snaps. He says, "I give you to death." Now, most fathers who said that would take it back very soon after. Here, we're never told this father did. So the boy took him literally at his word, and he walked to the house of Yama, the god of death, and he knocked. This, friends, is the story of Nachiketa, the boy who argued with death. This story comes to us in the Katha Upanishad, which sits inside the Krishna Yajurveda, and it is very old enough that an earlier, shorter version of it survives in a text even older. It begins with a sage, Rishi Vajasravasa. He's performing a great yajna, sacrifice. It's the kind where you stand before everyone you know and give away a lot of what you own in exchange for earning merit. His son Nachiketa, or Nachiketas, is watching the cattle being led out, and he looks at them. Now, here is how the text describes these cattle that are being led out as part of the yajna. There's 4 things that they say about them. They have drunk their last water. They have eaten their last grass. They've given their last milk, and they will not calve again. They're basically at their end. They're really old. Now, to feel what's wrong here, you need to know what a cow was, or cattle. Cows, or the Gaumata, even today is respected, revered, and prayed to. They're considered as holy. Now, in the ancient world, cattle were one of the great measures of wealth. And cattle, what were you placed in the hands of the priests conducting a yajna or any sacrifice. That gift had a name. It was called dakshina, and it was routinely with cows involved. So a rite or a ritual like this didn't only move an individual closer to heaven, it also moved a great deal of wealth between people. Now, Nachiketa's father had promised a lot. He's promised everything and handed over very little, if you look at the cattle and the way they're described. And Nachiketa is watching this, and something happens inside him when he watches. The story gives it a name. It's a feeling described as Shraddha. Now, we usually translate that as meaning faith, which is correct, but it's a little too small to describe what's happening here. It's nearer to conviction. It's a settled sense of what's right and having the courage and the nerve to act on it. And Nachiketa does. But what rises in him isn't a feeling that, oh, my father is a cheat. It's rather concern, it's care. And he says, joyless are the worlds a man goes to who gives cattle like these. So you see, he's not angry with his father. He's actually worried about him. He's concerned about him. He's frightened for him. He's just watched his father, the man he loves, the man he's admired, risk those joyless words with a gift that cost him nothing. And he wants to put it right, which leaves him, a young boy, with a very hard problem. Because how do you tell your father that? How do you tell your father who you've admired that he's wrong, he's doing something he isn't supposed to? Now, he doesn't excuse him, but he offers himself. He says to his father, "And me? To whom will you give me?" Now, this vow was everything. The cattle now are worth nothing. So what is left in that house that's genuinely precious and worthy of the yajna, or worthy of a sacrifice? It's him, it's himself. The story doesn't spell out his reasoning, but it has been read the same way for a very long time. He isn't shaming or wanting to disrespect his father. He's offering to be the actual gift instead of those old cattle in that house, because that would actually cost something to give. It would be worthy of the endeavor. So, like I said, his father ignores it. And he asks again, and for the third time, he's had enough. And he says, "To death I give you." The father says this in temper. It's exactly the sort of thing you take back the moment it's out of your mouth. And like I said, we are never told that he did or what he did after. There's no mention of any apology or the father running after him. The story simply turns to Nachiketa and his journey. So Nachiketa hears his father and he accepts. He takes his father's words, "I give you to death," quite literally. But not because of any anger or frustration or because he's hurt. He thinks deeply and he ponders. He looks at the generations that came before him, the ones still coming, and he thinks, well, they all went. Death is the great equalizer and it spares no one after all. Nachiketa reasons that, like grain, a person ripens and falls, and like grain, comes again. It's a constant cycle. So why not now? His father has said a thing. Let it be true. Might as well. So Nachiketa journeys. He leaves his home and he journeys to the realm of Yamraj, the god of death. And he arrives at the abode of Yamraj. Now, he isn't home when he gets there. And the god of death isn't at home. Now, Nachiketa leaves his home and arrives at the abode, the realm of Yamraj. Now, Yamraj isn't home when Nachiketa arrives, and nobody comes. So Nachiketa stays there outside the home at the entrance for 3 nights at the threshold. He doesn't enter without eating anything, not a single morsel. He just waits, quietly, patiently, politely. 1 night becomes 2, 2 nights becomes 3, and finally after 3 nights when Yamraj returns, he finds a child at his door who hasn't been fed. A guest, the verse says, enters a house like fire. Not warmth, fire. It's something you deal with at once with top priority or it takes the house down. Somebody says, bring water quickly. Now what this means is, for Yamraj, it's a matter of honor, because poor hospitality from the great Yamraj, the god of both death and justice, has failed a guest under his own roof in his own home. So he wants to make up for it. He wants to atone. And what does he do? Yamraj offers to Nachiketa what you might think one would offer when something like this has happened. He offers 3 boons, 3 vardans. Ask a wish. What do you desire? In fact, 3. 1 for each night. So here is the beauty of it. The god of death standing on his own doorstep, making it up essentially to a polite, beautiful child. Nachiketa listens to this and he respectfully accepts and he starts to ask. The first boon he asks for is not for him, it's for his father. He says, let his father's anger be gone. Let him rest easy. Let him know me when I come home. Now, you don't ask for that unless the anger is still there. Nachiketa came here to mend his father's sacrifice, his ritual, and now, holding a wish in the house of Yamraj, he spends it on his father again. Granted, Yamraj says. Done, accepted. Second one. The second boon is stranger, and it's one some people may skip past, so I want to take a little bit of time to explain this second one. It's really interesting. Nachiketa, for his second boon, asks Yamraj to teach him a fire. Now, this isn't a metaphor, it's an actual rite, it's an actual ritual. There was a way of building a fire altar, a yagya, and this was a particular arrangement of bricks laid out in a particular number and order. And the tradition held that performing it carried a person straight to heaven. Yamraj, being the god of death and justice of all beings, would of course know exactly how it went and how to plan, prepare, and execute it. Now, what is really touching here and what's insightful isn't what Nachiketa asks for. Listen to what the small boy wants. It's not what he wants actually, it's why he wants it. Nobody dreads old age. Hunger and thirst at this point are behind them. Sorrow too. And then to Yamraj's face, he says, you are not there. So he's telling Yamraj, the god of death, politely, that the best thing about heaven is his absence, the absence of death. Now look at what he's actually done with his second wish, his boon. He watched a sacrifice performed badly, and it frightened him for the sake of his father, who he's admired. So the second thing he asks Yamraj for is how to perform one properly, how to do the actual rite that gets a person past exactly the thing standing in front of him, death. He's still trying to fix it. He's still thinking about his father. Yamraj knows this. He admires this. He is not offended, and he accepts. He teaches Nachiketa the whole thing, all the details, the bricks, the number, how to arrange it, the order, all of it. And then he's so impressed and pleased with the young boy that he gives him something extra on top of teaching him. He declares for his dedication that from this day on, the fire will carry his name. It'll be known as Nachiketa. So, 2 wishes granted, 2 boons granted, last one left. And this one, Nachiketa doesn't spend on ritual at all. He spends on wanting to know something, to learn something. He says, or he ponders or thinks, that when a person dies, some say he still is, but some say he isn't. So which is true? Please teach me that. Very deep question. Now, the first 2 boons were quick yeses. The third time, Yamraj says no, not unkindly though. He says that even the gods themselves have been unsure of this, that it's subtle, that it's hard, not at all easy. He asks Nachiketa, ask me for something else, but not the answer to this. And then he begins to offer. He begins to tempt. What do you want? I'll give you anything your heart desires. Do you want sons and grandsons who will live 100 years? Do you want all the cattle, horses, and elephants you can dream of? Or the gold that you can dream of, jewelry, an expansive kingdom? As much of the earth as Nachiketa would like to rule. He just has to say and it'll be his. Or maybe a long life, as many years as he cares to name. And maybe beautiful women, celestial apsaras with chariots and music, the kind of company he says men simply don't get. Anything, Yamraj says, choose, just not this. And Nachiketa, standing in the house of death and justice, Yamraj, despite all the temptation, still turns down every last piece of it. He says these things are temporary. They last until tomorrow. They wear out the very senses that enjoy them. Even the longest life is short. Keep your chariots, he says. Keep your songs and your dancing. No one is ultimately ever satisfied by wealth. And wealth can be had in any sense, now that we have seen you. We will live exactly as long as you rule. He says this directly to Yamraj's face and quite gently. Every single thing on that list is something Yamraj will one day come back for. The sons, the grandsons, the cattle, the gold, the kingdom, the 100 years of life. He's being offered goods by the very one being certain to take them away again. It's only a matter of time. Nachiketa knows this, which is why none of it can buy him out or tempt him. Yamraj gives in. He finally accepts. And the first thing he says isn't about the afterlife at all. There are 2 different things in the world, he says, and almost all of us confuse them. The first, he says, is the unpleasant. There is preyas, the pleasant. It's what you desire, it's what you want. And the second, he says, is shreyas, the good, the thing that is actually better for you. Shreyas and preyas both come to you. They arrive side by side, dressed almost alike. The wise one looks carefully and takes the good. The other reaches out for the pleasant and loses. That's the first lesson Yamraj teaches Nachiketa. Not a map of the underworld, a note about how you'll spend your regular days, how you'll live your life, how you'll think about living your life. But it's a test that Nachiketa, just a small boy, has already passed, not once but twice. Once with his father's cattle, and once with Yamraj's chariots and kingdoms and everything that he tried to tempt the boy with. The teaching, in fact, only arrives after he's actually lived it, after he's passed this so-called test. From there, Yamraj goes on to the self that doesn't die, and to an image that has never left Indian thought. The body is a chariot. The self rides in it. The intellect is the charioteer. The mind is the reins. And the senses are the horses. And somewhere in there is an instruction and a warning. It's to rise, it's to wake up. The path, Yamraj says, is narrow. Narrow as the edge of a razor. Hard to cross. So, Nachiketa, does he go home? The story doesn't say, but we can assume that he does, and he returns with these 3 boons, all the more wiser and all the more well informed. The story itself, like I said, doesn't say exactly, but it ends on a single verse. Nachiketa, having received this teaching from Yamraj and the whole philosophy and the discipline behind it, he became free of dust and free of dying and reached the ground of things. And then, at the end of that sentence, a clause. And so does anyone else who knows this. For this whole story, he was a boy. And it was about him, his father, his stubbornness, his determination, his 3 nights on a doorstep. In its final line, it stops being about him. The door he walked through is still open. There's one more thing in that conversation. Somewhere in the middle of explaining what doesn't die, Yamraj stops and hands the boy a single syllable and tells him that everything the Vedas are reaching for is gathered up inside it. You already know which syllable. What you might not know is that it has a 4th part, and you can't hear it. In a future video soon to come, dear friends, what Om really means. That's it for today's video, dear viewer. Once again, we'd love to hear your thoughts, what you thought about this highly profound and deep story, really philosophical in what it means. Please do share your thoughts and your comments. We'd love to read each and every one of them. And share your thoughts or suggestions for future video topics. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Take care.